think most of the time people who are knowledgeable about economics have a high degree of education, and more people are getting educated on economics, especially as the economy gets worse. They want to figure out, like, why is everything costing so much more now? Why is there super duper inflation, when I go to buy eggs or whatever. So I think that there's a confluence of things happening. The idea of the debt-based fiat system being a trap, being a scam, definitely, overlapped with the so-called conspiracy world, which is really just the reality world. I mean, it's not even conspiracies. It's people who were looking at what's really going on behind the scene, learning about the Federal Reserve. So I think that, the Ron Paul era, which I was really involved in, both the Ron and Rand Paul, campaigns, and trying to, help out with that back in, the 2007, 8, 9, 10 era. That was a period when a lot of people were getting educated in the libertarian and conservative libertarian camps on economics. And I saw, I remember that time when, Ron Paul would have rallies where he could fill entire stadiums, and he was really calling out the Federal Reserve. And so, Rand, I remember he based his whole campaign in, what was it, 2012 or something, I think, on the problems with the IRS, the problems with taxation, the problems with ultimately the Federal Reserve. And it was just really unheard of at that time, even though, there've been a lot of, Barry Goldwater types who've been talking about the Federal Reserve for a long time. And it just was a perfect confluence, because as we started seeing deplatforming, as we started seeing people noticing what I think last year there was a 10 to 20% loss in the purchasing power of the dollar within a year. So people were really starting to say, wait a minute, like, we've got to have alternative systems, both in terms of media, in terms of how we get our information out, in terms of social media, in terms of video platforms. And so obviously, to money, we need other ways to, conduct economic transactions, to share ideas and value that cannot be destroyed, that cannot be easily, gotten rid of, cannot be deleted, censored. So the parallels became natural, as you said, between increased education on money, monetary policy, how everything's a scam when it comes to the Fed, it's private banks ripping off everybody in terms of generational wealth through inflation. And then at the same time, we have, as you said, this sort of amazing invention that comes about with Bitcoin, where you have this really ideal money system. I always call it like an ideal or a Neoplatonic type of money system, because that's what it is. It's the hardest, best way to do money, hardest asset. Gold and silver obviously are next to that, but it's the ideal. And so I think so many people being forced to come to grips with reality when it comes to the Great Reset, when it comes to what's been happening in the last 2 years, also forced people into reality when it came to how they're going to manage their personal finances, their investments, and all this stuff. And so that it was just a perfect confluence of all these things at once.